I sat down on whatever it is, Sparta Communications or whatever.
Then there's some, you see that on Farm Bureau, there's something, that was this month. You get that newsletter, don't you?
Yeah.
That's why I don't comment on stuff.
Can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
I look and see what everybody's thinking.
You know, like, you know, you get that email, like where they come and go
Shop on Marketplace.
click on the different articles.
Well, it's close enough. 7 o'clock, we'll open the meeting up. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first order of business. Any additions or corrections to the agenda as printed? Hearing none, I entertain a motion for action on it.
I'll make the motion to accept the agenda as written.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion properly supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, motion passed. Okay, we have the minutes of our last meeting. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to look those over. And assuming that to be the case, I'd ask if there's any additions or corrections that we need to make before we approve them. Okay, hearing none, I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll support.
Could we have a motion properly supported? Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, okay. All right, public comment for item on the agenda. Yes, sir, please state your name.
Brooke Berg, 10870 Phelps Avenue, Sparta, Michigan.
Okay.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the citizens and voters of the township do want a moratorium on data centers as we learn more about them.
Yep.
It's too much, too fast, too soon.
Yep.
That's all, just remind.
Okay. That leads right into our first business item, public hearing on the moratorium amendment. And Kevin, did you provide us with that?
There should be a copy in the packet.
Right here?
Oh, okay, oh, yeah, there we go. Alright, so this is a public hearing, we'll just open it up if there's any other comments. I know you've given your comment on it. Dale, do you have anything?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. And what were we going for as far as timeline? Let's see.
1 year. Originally, I thought we said.
So for this amendment, it would be like an amendment to the zoning ordinance. What it would do is add a section to the zoning ordinance that in the future for a moratorium, instead of having to go through a 3-month process to adopt a moratorium, the vote will be to adopt a moratorium by resolution. So that'll be the moratorium for data centers will likely be a part of this process, but that way in the future, we've just seen technology's changing a lot more rapidly than in the past. So we've seen with solar, with wind, with a lot of other options. So that was where the recommendation came from legal counsel, just to amend the zoning ordinance. So it's more simple to adopt a moratorium.
Any questions of Kevin? That's what we were shooting for.
I make a motion to recommend that we adopt the moratorium ordinance as presented to the township board.
Okay, motion.
I second. Or Don seconds.
We have a motion, properly supported. Any other discussion? Dale, did you have any comments relative to this, or?
Now, would this go on our board meeting for approval on the 12th this week, or what would you recommend then, Kevin?
It definitely can, once the planning commission makes a recommendation, I mean, the board could hold the meeting as soon as they want after that, so. Yeah, it could happen on Thursday if you guys want.
Yeah, I'll put that on the agenda then if that's passed tonight.
Okay. Okay, back to the motion. We have a motion to recommend adoption of the moratorium ordinance. From properly supported. Any other discussion?
Is it a roll call vote or just a?
I'm not sure. Do we have is this a roll
Call vote or?
require a roll call vote?
You can do a voice vote, or you can do a roll call vote. It's really up to you. Usually if it's gonna be unanimous, a voice vote's fine, but then if it was maybe,
There's some
nays, then maybe you'd wanna do a roll call.
Okay. Now, I'll call for the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So, we're good to go then. So you'll be taking that up at your meeting then, correct, Dale? All right.
Yeah, that's 7 o'clock, isn't it?
The next order of business, this is the public hearing on the master plan review and adoption. And first of all, I'd like to thank Kevin for all his work he's done. He's done a very nice job
Yes,
getting
absolutely.
everything out. You know, so, appreciate all his efforts. So, let's see, we have a draft copy, correct, and a final copy. The master plan. And there were, okay, I guess I'll open it up first of all, the public hearing. Is there any comments from the public regarding this? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public portion and go into deliberation. Everybody had a chance to go through this. We went through it piece by piece, but once it's all together.
Looked great.
sometimes-
I read every page.
Yeah, see the one addition you put in there, wasn't there one?
There were a couple edits.
Yeah, edits, yeah. Those were in reference to comments received from the township.
Just, as part of the public comment period, I know Dale did a review, but Fresh Coast Planning also did one last final review, so, both from Dale's review, we captured a few other items that we wanted to make sure that, were captured. One in particular was, land use, a description of what the mixed use residential commercial classification was. That was previously missing, so that would be something new for the planning commission to look at. And then there were a few other minor items throughout the text. No major changes to the intent or other language that you had previously reviewed.
Okay, so this issue of the mixed use residential, commercial, that'd be something we'll put on our list to work on then? Is that
Yeah, so essentially,
your thoughts were?
with the mixed use residential commercial, the current or the previous master plan, however you want to view it, identified it as mixed use PUD, I believe. So the intent is still the same, but we've taken out that PUD language instead of saying, instead of prescribing how that's gonna be developed, describing the intent. So we wanna, the master plan says, hey, this area is gonna be a mix of residential and commercial uses. And we're not prescribed whether that's done by PUD. There are methods that the township could take to amend the zoning ordinance to create a new zoning district that allows for more form-based goals or whatever that may be.
Okay. Well, something, at some point in time, we're gonna have to take another look at it, is that correct?
Yeah, that would be part of kind of like the after steps of looking at the
Right.
zoning ordinance and all sorts of things, yeah.
So then that would be an amendment to the master plan?
No, right now it's already in the master plan, so the master plan essentially identifies this, a creation of a new zoning district.
Be created,
Yeah.
okay, alright.
On the topic of that subject too, something that we didn't capture earlier in the process, but as I've become more and more familiar with part of the township is currently the strip along Sparta Avenue is 300 feet wide.
Right.
It's zone commercial, it's identified in the master plan as commercial industrial. One thing the planning commission could consider is, one of the things that we're seeing along Sparta Avenue right now is that, my understanding is through different obstacles and hurdles, water and sewer is not going down Sparta Avenue anytime soon. But with that commercial industrial district today, there are a number of residential homes within that district that are considered legally non-conforming uses because it's zoned commercial. So that would be something that if you wanted to, instead of identifying the strip as commercial industrial in the future, you could include that in the mixed use residential commercial future use. That's my impression of what that Sparta Avenue over the next 10, 15 years will continue to be used as a mix of residential and commercial uses.
The current use is basically grandfathered in, correct?
Correct.
Now, what repercussions from the fact that they're not properly zoned would they affect any future sales of those homes, or?
Potentially, I mean, that's if
It could raise a red flag with probably a lending institution if nothing else.
yeah, they're considered legally non-conforming, so the zoning ordinance says
Right.
for a legally non-conforming building, if it's either on purpose or an act of God that 50% or more of that structure is destroyed, you can't rebuild it unless it conforms to the zoning ordinance. So that would be where if an existing home burned down, zoning ordinance would not allow for it to be rebuilt in that commercial district.
I think we need to.
Serious.
I think we need to change that
Yeah.
wording. I mean, it's not right that the people who live there
No,
couldn't rebuild. I mean, that's just not fair. It's, and we all know, I mean, tornadoes do go through.
yeah.
So, I mean, I'd propose that we definitely change that.
Yeah. Now, would it affect them if they wanted to expand the house or put a building on a pole barn up or something?
Yes.
It would affect them too.
I just had a conversation a few weeks ago, with the gentleman that called, said, hey, I would like to put an addition on my house. For him, it was just small enough, so there's certain constraints for a legally non-conforming building. The zoning ordinance says it can only be expanded just so much percentage. But if you wanted to expand it past, and I don't remember that off the top of my head, it's not allowed.
Yeah.
So it would stop somebody from potentially putting on an addition, to their garage, or it could impact where they're placing a pole barn or detached garage.
So this is something that we would have to go to a public hearing, I'm assuming, to notify the individuals?
Well,
That
the
we're
first step
gonna
would be
change the zoning?
updating the master plan map, so if that's something you guys were interested in, potentially would get rid of the commercial and industrial district. We'd update the master plan map to identify the whole strip as mixed use residential commercial.
Okay.
That would still allow for a lot of the same intents, you could still have commercial development there. So that would be the first step, to say this is the future, but then the next step would be to work through the zoning ordinance to essentially create a new zoning district that allowed for those mixed uses.
So what can we do tonight?
I would need direction, if that's where you wanted to go, would be to essentially, we'd amend the master plan map and make those changes to reflect that. And then I'd bring the master plan back to you guys again at a future meeting.
But that could take place after we approve the master plan, correct?
I would, if that was the step you were gonna take, is to change that
Yeah.
strip along Sparta Avenue, I would just table the master plan for
Okay.
now. And then I would work to update the map and the text to reflect those desired
I
changes.
think that's the way to go.
I do too. Anybody?
Anybody else have any opinion on that, or? It's.
I don't
We don't
think it's
wanna
fair to
amend it,
I don't
but
think it's fair to
after we do it.
handicap
No.
people that are.
Can
approve it and amend it.
Right.
Right.
I'm gonna make a motion then that we table the approval on the master plan till we can update the map
Okay,
and then
that'd be good.
review it then.
And do we have to have another public hearing and notice a public hearing?
I don't believe that another public hearing is necessary, but I will verify with legal counsel.
Okay.
Because I don't wanna pay for the mailings for another public
So I have a motion,
I support it, Terry, so.
we have a motion and support to table this item until we have a chance to, or Kevin has a chance to revise the master plan to change the zoning on Sparta Avenue there. So, any other discussion?
Does that also include the 500-foot depth?
Well, that's separate, I mean, that's in the master plan, the 500, to increase it to 500 feet, correct?
Yep,
Okay.
So if we approve when we approve the master plan, that would be
That's it.
approved then, so. All right. Any other questions, comments?
Do we have to vote on that?
Yes, getting to that. Okay, hearing none, I'd call for the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Now, continue our discussion of the accessory dwelling units regulations. I think last time you presented something to us and some questions came up which precipitated a rewrite on certain portions of it. With that, I'll let you kind of lead us in this discussion then.
so, just make sure I have the right document. So, from the planning commission's last conversation, it seemed like there was concerns, regarding essentially future abuse or potential abuse of accessory dwelling units. So there's been 2 edits that we've put in to try to address those concerns. So previously, the amendment would have allowed accessory dwelling units as a use by right. With the change to subsection B, they will only be permitted as a special land use. So that will require them to apply, come to a public hearing, and the planning commission to be able to review them. Also, a new subsection E has been added. Currently, there's subsection B that says the property owner shall maintain residence on the property, either in the principal dwelling or in the accessory dwelling unit. The new subsection E states that the person occupying the dwelling not occupied by the property owner shall be a family member. So that means that they have to be a family member. So doesn't matter if the property owner lives in the accessory dwelling unit or in the principal dwelling or vice versa, but it's gonna be the property owner and the family member that are living in those dwellings.
That makes sense, you know. As we get older, we might wanna move into the accessory building.
Smaller.
The kids have the bigger. So it's. Any other questions on that? Jim? No. You had something, well, you were in favor of changing it, making some changes.
Yeah, I think I'm the one that brought that up, about rental units.
Yep.
I know at one time we talked about defining what family members were. Did you guys talk about that?
That's
or-
defined in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember reading it.
It's on the memorandum that he wrote.
Oh, the
Right at the
middle,
bottom.
okay, okay.
Cause I know that was,
Oh, it was
that's
that.
the,
Okay, I
kind of the
guess
sticky point.
I just got to it,
Deal
so
with it.
and it went
To deal
It's
with it.
just so much, oh, it's right in front of us.
And there's nothing we have to vote on this, or do we have to vote on this, or?
I was gonna ask Kevin, where are we at with this?
Yeah, the planning commission's already held a public hearing.
Right.
So I would be the decision to make that a motion to recommend to the board as presented if you so wish. Or if there's other changes you'd like to make, I'm happy to make those corrections.
What Kevin said, right?
What Kevin said, yes, I make a motion, we accept it as written.
Okay. Support for that? Support.
Well,
Okay, we have support. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So our recommendation will go to the township board, correct?
Now, do you have to go on a public hearing on that one?
We had one.
So then, on that one though, I would think the board might need a little more time to read that through, I think, wouldn't you think, Barb? I don't think I put that on this,
I read it through.
but I mean, the rest of our board members though probably haven't. Yeah, I would think
Well,
that
we're approving it, sending it to them. Is that what?
Yeah, I would leave it up to you guys on whether you not you want to have it on your Thursday agenda or if you want to have it.
I would think,
I would say move it to next month.
I would,
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on for Thursdays.
I agree, yeah, that's what I was getting at. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, thank you. I wasn't sure where you were going with that, Dale.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And now for the elephant in the room, data centers. Seems like it's getting a lot of press. All right, Kevin, I'm gonna turn to you to kind of lead us in this discussion then.
So the planning commission's been provided with a draft zoning ordinance amendment that has been prepared and recommended by legal counsel. In our review of that draft, it does cover a lot of the major impacts of data centers, power usage, water usage, emergency preparedness, decommissioning, and such. But there may be some other items, in our review of different data center regulations from communities in Michigan, other communities. Whether or not you want to establish a minimum lot area greater than what's already required for the industrial district. If you wanted to require increased setbacks, again, greater than what the minimum is for the industrial district. If you want to require any additional screening or landscaping. Some of the data center regulations we've come across, they have setbacks for the generators. That they have to be set back so many feet so that if they do come out, they're not creating noise that would, especially when next to a residential district. Are there any architectural standards that you want to include? In some of our communities, especially in some of their commercial districts, don't have regulations on varying roof lines, so you don't end up with a big square building. Those are definitely architectural standards you could put in place for review. Or if there's any other standards that you guys would want to have in place. Other than that, I mean, just tonight, really trying to seek some of the planning commission's initial feedback so we can start to tailor the ordinance to fit our township.
I did read something about them being close to schools. That they should be a minimum of 2 miles away from any schools because of a number of emissions and whatnot.
So I guess something we need to research.
I think that needs to be looked at
Oh, yeah.
definitely and added to this.
Yes, I'm concerned because this so-called proposal for the rodeo grounds there's always been some indication that they're looking to maybe acquire additional land for expansion. So these facilities are probably going to be built and then they're going to want to expand. And I guess, do they hold a gun to our head and said, you got to rezone this? Is there any protection for the township from the standpoint of them
Well, seeing how
encroaching?
the rodeo grounds are part of the village.
Right, yeah.
So any property adjacent to that
Yeah,
they'd have to come to us in the first place
right.
for discussion. And of course, you already know
Yeah.
that certain annexations
Mhm.
have been allowed
Right,
when it goes to the county.
right.
So I think by putting something in there, especially in regards to closeness to schools, would be advantage
Right,
for us.
or at least that particular
Or-
site.
Exactly,
Yeah,
cause
that would eliminate it, wouldn't it?
you couldn't be that close
No,
to the school,
no.
so,
I wouldn't put it as an advantage to us, but I definitely think we need to do our due diligence. If that's something we read, right? 'Cause there's so much out there you read that's just there, it's true, it's not, whatever. But I think even reading a comment like that, I would think that we would want to do our due diligence and find out if there's actual data out there
Yes.
about that. You know, to put it in, cause another big concern of mine, it's items for consideration, is noise,
Yeah.
you know, I mean.
absolutely.
You're gonna be affected, I'm gonna be affected, you know.
Well, I'm just thinking of,
Well, in
the dairy
regard,
farms,
Yeah, well, that, yeah, what's that do to the,
what's that gonna do to their animals?
right. Then I've read several studies now too myself on affecting bees. I heard that in our meeting last week and I found a couple out there that I read that they suggested they had a adverse effect on the bee population.
Well, you don't need that.
Well, I mean, the ridge is
Oh,
apples.
Yeah.
I mean, and you need bees to pollinate everything, so.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I just had a question. As we talk about the definition of a data center, to me, that seems pretty broad. Similar to solar farms or things like that, do we need to have a better definition of, for example, if it's this could be a data center right here, this building or this room, you know what I mean? And should be a footprint or acreage? I read a lot about what they talked about as we're moving toward the AI, more of these called hyperscaling that are as big as 250 acres. And the state of Virginia, I guess, is the big, just because of the location, but they have 650 of these data centers where Michigan currently only has approximately 60. We talk about data centers, to me, that could be everything from left to right, and then a lot different in between. Do we need to have a definition of that as our township, or maybe that's a Kevin question, or legal counsel? I mean, there's a person that puts a computer server in and they put in this, their business is basically a small data center, that's not, I don't think, what we're afraid of as much as what we consider to be the monster, the big data center. So I don't know how to define it or how to put a size on it. But I know, for example, a person similar to solar, if a person puts solar panels in their backyard, that doesn't scare me, but a solar farm of 1,000 acres, that scares me. So I don't know. We've done this in the past with wind farms and solar, where we broke it into maybe drew the line somewhere.
no, I think that's a good point. Something that we should consider.
Oh, and I make a note, so there is currently, within the draft language from legal counsel, there's a definition for cryptocurrency data mining facility and a data center. The definitions are fairly broad. That is definitely an approach that, Sparta Township is to take, is different regulations based on the size of the facility. You know, like right now, like for solar per se, it's like level 1, level 2. So you could definitely make provisions that, hey, if you've got a 1 acre server farm, you know, in the scale of overall industrial, maybe that's not as big as impact. Maybe you say, hey, that's a use by right. Maybe there's some other criteria for determining that, but then there's some other size-based regulations. If you're over this size, now it is a special land use and all these additional requirements will go into place. So we can definitely look into what that may look like.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do other, I know Kevin, you were talking before the meeting that this is all really new to us. I mean, we're all reacting kind of to things as fast as they're coming at us. In the state of Virginia that's dealt with this a lot already, do they have anything, I mean, I don't know, but drawn up already that they've they've addressed a lot of these challenges or questions. And states like, Texas has got 413, and California's got like 300 or some. But they've obviously dealt with some of this because it isn't new to them anymore.
Yeah, I believe 2 of the samples that were provided to the planning commission were from Virginia. I think it was Fairfax County and then another city in Virginia were 2 of the samples. Another thing, I know the Michigan Townships Association has said they're in a process of creating a template. So that's something else we could take into consideration. Again, for the Michigan Townships Association template, I don't know if that's 2 days away or 2 months away. I don't know where they're at in that sort of time frame. But I will share that I will be on a webinar next week. Is titled Cloud Control Navigating Data Center Impacts. And I believe that is through the Michigan Townships Association. So that's one of my goals is getting your feedback tonight, and I'm gonna be taking those notes with me to that webinar. And if they don't provide the answers in it, hopefully they have a Q&A where I might be able to put some of those to them. Because they have, I don't know if they represent all 1,300 townships in Michigan, but I know they've got a pretty big spread.
There is an article in this month's Township magazine regarding data centers,
Right.
and I don't know if you all
Yeah.
get that,
I
but
get it.
I started reading it, it was very interesting. So,
May I make a
Sure.
small
Yes,
public
sir.
comment about the ordinance that you have proposed? You have a noise of 45 dBs in there. It's recommended of dBs below 30 for sleep, for quality of sleep, so that's a very specific thing I saw in there.
That's certainly one of the issues in the sound, the lighting, but just the traffic. There's all kinds of things that we
That
gotta look
specific
at,
number probably
right.
should be lowered.
Thank you.
below, can you say that again?
Below 30.
Below 30?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
One other question that we talked a little bit before. There seems to be quite a, I'll say discussion about whether they're deemed industrial or commercial. Maybe that depends on size also. I don't know how that would tie into our zoning though. If they were considered industrial, maybe then the zoning would be one way, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or we might restrict it differently based on how they would be classified or defined. And maybe that's based on the size or some other criteria that, again, other townships have faced.
And that's definitely something to consider. I'm taking notes and just trying to get some initial feedback is, you know, for Sparta, you have your C1 zoning district, your C2 and an industrial. C1 is generally gonna be those indoor uses, Dollar General, retail types of things. C2, you see more of that outdoor commercial, but it also includes contractor yards, self-storage facilities. So that's the direction you guys wanted to go. We could definitely tailor that based on some sort of size or other impact that, hey, maybe a level 1 data center is allowed in commercial and industrial, but then a level 2, you guys can determine that's only industrial, or if you wanted to, I don't wanna just limit you, I mean, you can allow it in other districts, but I'm making the assumption that you're gonna wanna at least focus in on those 2 districts.
it's a good thought. Good thought. Any other direction we want to give to Kevin as far as, you know, his questions that we can bring to that webinar?
I have one, what happens 10 years down the road? They don't need these data centers anymore. What are we gonna do with them?
There is in the current sample, there is a section on decommissioning and what would be required. So decommissioning for a period of 1 year. There is a financial surety to ensure proper decommissioning. The applicant must post the financial surety in the form of a security bond or escrow payment in an amount equal to 125% of the total estimated cost of decommissioning, code enforcement and reclamation. So that's definitely pretty detailed. That's something I always look at. Code enforcement, that's something that's not always considered when we're requiring escrows, is if the township ever gets to a point where you have to enforce, then you're not seeing additional legal cost. So just looking at the way this is written, it's like, not only are you gonna look at the cost for that surety bond of how much it costs to tear down and decommission those buildings and facilities, but also what would a potential estimated cost for the township be to take the legal proceedings, to make sure that reclamation happens.
And can we put something in there as well that says if it's ruled in our favor, they have to pay our attorney costs?
I will check, I'm not sure if there's other state law that would limit that.
As long as we're talking about cost, I mean, it probably wouldn't affect us, or at least not initially, but, you know, they're gonna need water, they're gonna need sewer, they're gonna need power. What is our cost that if they walk away from it, now we've got this huge sewer treatment plant, or we've got a system that we've gotta take care of? Legacy cost, you know, being there. You know, that came up, I was talking with someone and they said, you know, that's something that should be considered.
For Sparta Township, we can definitely look into those things. But a municipality can't be forced to extend utilities, you can't be forced to extend water, you can't be forced to extend sewer.
But if we as a township incurred cost to have them there, depending on how we raise those funds, you know, we put a bond program out or something like that, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. And we're stuck paying bonds off or whatever, or maintaining a system or something that would not have been needed if they weren't here.
And it gets even more complicated because we have a village
Right.
that's part of a township
Yeah, that's,
and then a township
yeah,
that's not part of the village.
right,
So we don't have a sewer system, we
Right.
don't have a water system per se,
right.
so.
That would typically be our recommendation too with off-site improvements. We can't force somebody to improve a road, or we can't force somebody to necessarily make an improvement to a sanitary sewer system. What we can do as part of our review is we can say that this is a special land use, and then until these improvements are made, it's not appropriate for this use to be there. So if there needs to be road improvements or a street light put in, we can capture that as part of our review of the project. And then the township can't force put those things in place. So if we've recognized either through chip generation analysis or other studies that these things are required to support that use, that's the step that the township could take, either deny because those don't exist, or if the applicant's willing to pay for those improvements willingly, then.
Right.
But a lot of times, we would try to work with the township, say, these improvements are necessary because of your use, we're not paying for it, so if you wanna see it done, that's gonna come out of your pocket to do those improvements. Obviously, there's other considerations for every different municipality is different, so sometimes the use I won't get into all that, but sometimes you would see a community choose to make those investments, but that would be Sparta's decision at that time of whether or not the township would contribute to any of those costs. To your point of whether or not they'd have to reimburse for legacy cost, I'm assuming that would become part of that agreement, all that's captured.
Any other direction we want to depart on, Kevin?
Good start.
Yeah.
Just a lot.
Well, keep us posted on what you find, and all of us, if we get information, let's share it. It's out there, you know.
What's the closest one to Sparta? What's the closest?
Solon Township, is that?
Solon Township,
Oh.
but I don't know, didn't they vote no?
I don't think they voted on it yet. I think-
They voted for a moratorium as
They
well.
increased the moratorium.
Okay.
Where's the closest one?
Yeah.
Isn't the one that's existing is like down.
Yeah,
Kentwood.
M6 Beltline.
Yeah.
Oh,
Caledonia.
but
Yeah,
Pyramid.
the old pyramid
Yeah.
building.
There's actually like, I don't, again, size is different maybe, but there's like 10 or 11 that are south of Grand Rapids.
Oh, okay.
They could be everywhere from the pyramid, you know, like the old steel case pyramid to something smaller.
Just to clarify, so we forwarding the zoning ordinance moratorium recommendation to the board.
Right.
The board votes, let's say they do,
Right.
to go ahead and accept this. Then next month, we could recommend a moratorium on data centers.
That's my understanding, so I'm working with legal counsel,
Okay,
because even if the board adopts on Thursday, there's still requirements to post that's been adopted, and then the amendment doesn't become effective until at least 7 days after it's been published.
Okay,
So that's my assumption right now is that by the March meeting, we'd have worked with legal counsel to prepare a resolution for a moratorium on data centers.
That
Okay.
we would recommend for them to approve, or can they just approve it based on the moratorium?
The board will just be able to
Yeah,
approve the resolution at this
yeah.
point, and we'll not have
We
to
don't
come
have
back.
to do anything.
doesn't come back to us at all.
No.
Nope.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay.
Alright. Any other discussion on this point? Alright, moving right along, public comment for items on the agenda or not on the agenda?
Terry, can I jump back one?
Sure.
1 minute, please, sorry. Kevin, what kind of items, since you've been doing this, do you have on your list for that webinar for the Q&A portion? What kind of stuff have you found that you want to question or understand in that webinar?
For me personally, you know, from a lot of the readings, so I know there's the U of M article that this year was the Managed Edition. A lot of concerns around power, water usage. That's one thing I'll be looking for just for some clarification is on that water usage. The internet's good and bad, so there's a lot of mixed information. I really wanna get some clarity there's mixed information, especially as technology grows. You know, some people would say, hey, this closed loop systems doesn't require as much water. But then based on some of those articles that were shared, like even those closed loop systems still require water to be put back into the system to fill them up, and there's still discharge. So that's really probably one of my biggest concerns is what is the impact to the needs for water. Especially from my perspective, work for a lot of rural communities, many of my communities do not have access to public water. So I wanna be able to correctly advise them is, I think my understanding today would be without those public systems, it may not be as feasible for a data center.
Right.
But if I'm not correct, I wanna make sure that you're aware that hey, this could be anywhere in Sparta Township unless you guys really direct it to a certain place.
I think another issue that maybe you could explore is the effects on rural communities from a standpoint of agriculture. You know, you mentioned the bees, we mentioned, you know,
Cattle.
the cattle, just the atmosphere, depending on how they deal with cooling the facility, is that gonna affect the immediate area as far as any crops, particularly fruit?
Well, if they're putting warm water into these creeks, that's gonna affect the fish populations.
I would think they would have to do some type of an environmental assessment. You know, which would look into those types of issues, but I wanna know where, you know, something that we should be calling out in our ordinance too, as far as making sure that we're protective of our industry.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can I make a comment? Realize that only 22% of these data centers actually use water for cooling, the rest are all air.
Right.
Use all fans, similar to our storages and stuff like that. We have the ability either to have water or use air to air.
Right.
Heat exchangers. One other thing, Kevin, is like, Michigan just recently passed a data center tax exemption bill. It's Public Act 207. And it was just in 2024, and the concept of that, what I'm reading is they were trying to, they call them brownfield areas where they were already developed properties that were either abandoned or old factories or something like that, where they wanted to, oh, maybe they even had the infrastructure, maybe the power was there, just wasn't being utilized. So I'm kind of wondering how that is, it's been a couple of years, is that where, if I'm a Microsoft, am I gonna go there with, because I get this big tax exemption? You wouldn't get that necessarily here at Sparta Township.
That's where I'll be cautious. I know there were, especially the brownfield, I can't remember if it was all in 2024, but there were some changes. Previously, my understanding is a lot of that would have been industrial or commercial, renovation. But my understanding is some of those changes also ended up being with residential development, so making some more of those funds open for residential development. So yeah, there are definitely a lot more tax incentives out in place, but I'm not sure how that's going to impact Sparta Township, but I will try to find as much information as I can.
Would you like this?
Did you say public comment? One more public comment?
Yeah, yes, okay.
So I guess, what concerns me, and maybe this can also be brought up at your webinar, is EMF. Most of us in this room are old enough to remember when the vacuum cleaner turned on the TV. Crazy. I personally engineered and worked on a lot of electronic components, and it takes a lot of development to make products that don't interfere with other products, EMC, EMF. And data centers are pretty new, and that's a lot of electrons flowing through a lot of wires. And what does that do? So that's a concern to me, because that's maybe less understood than power and water to the layman, right? How EMC and EMF affect things, so.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? When you say EMF, I'm an electrician, so I think of electromotive force and voltage is.
Electromagnetic fields.
That's okay, thank you.
So, as you know, anytime those electrons go through it, they make a magnetic
Yeah,
field that goes
frequency.
around them.
Yep.
And when you start circling them and making them go across printed circuit boards that are have a lot of components on it, a lot of power regulation components on those printed circuit boards, they make a lot of what we call noise, but it's EMF,
Yep.
right? We call it noise because it affects other electronics, but that EMF doesn't just affect the electronics, it affects everything.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's how many studies about don't hold your cell phone up to your ear, right? These are ginormous cell phones, so.
Thank you.
We already have problems out here with internet. I'm just saying, is this gonna make it even harder with this EMF? I mean, you got that much
I
going
mean,
on.
it does dissipate at, they say 1 over x squared, which is the distance away from it. So it dissipates pretty rapidly, but if you're close to it, it's not good.
It's Valentine's Day.
I have one question. When they're supplying power to these companies, these overhead lines, they're bringing power in. You walk underneath one and you feel the buzz,
You
your
can
ear
get
stands on in.
a handheld EMF detector, a tri-mode they call it, which picks up 3 different ones. And if you go under those power lines with one of those, it lights up like crazy.
Yeah, like I say, these are gonna be
Right,
affecting people other than, just right around that
the
building.
cattle and bees and
That's
everything.
what I'm saying, yeah.
The deer,
Yep.
Well, fruit growers don't want the deer out there anyway. That's another story.
people like to take them.
Okay. Anything else? We got any?
Are we on the staff?
Yep, staff or commissioners' comments and had something on Land Division Act amendments, that's, I think we discussed that before, didn't we, or about the old.
Yeah, so just a brief update, there has been, we're still waiting on some more guidance, but the effective dates, there's the two major changes. One of them, the changes to the Land Division Act will give the township the ability to allow for more splits than the Land Division Act does. That goes into effect this March. The other change to the Land Division Act is in regards to by right splits. So that right now, it starts at 20 or less than 20 acres, so if you have 19.99 acres or less, you get 4 splits by right. Starting in March of 2027, that'll change, starting at 10 acres, you get 10 splits. And then for each additional 10 acres, you get 1, so at 20 you get 11, at 30 you get 12.
Wow.
That's my understanding of everything right now. As you've probably seen before, anytime you see those big changes to state legislation, it takes a while for legal counsel, the MTA, to really provide guidance. So I'm waiting to see some more of that coming out, to see if my understanding, from what I've read so far, is what's actually gonna happen, but a lot of it's just gonna be an increase to meets and bounds splits. That will not have an impact to the regulations in the A1 district, but in Sparta Township within Ag 2 and R1 is where I expect to see most of the changes happening over once that becomes effective.
So in other words, our rule of 1 acre lots could change?
No, your rules on the minimum sizes are still,
They're still.
they still rule.
Okay,
So what will change, with like Ag 2, you allow for private roads, it's 1 acres and 150 feet of frontage.
okay,
So that's one thing you could see is right now, if somebody had a 20 acre piece in Ag 2, let's split it into 4 pieces.
okay.
Starting next year, if they've got a 20 acre piece, it gets split into 11 pieces. Obviously, that's likely gonna mean they're putting in a larger private road that at that point, if it's serving 6 or more lots, it has to be paved. That would be the potential where we start to see some of that change happening.
Okay. Where are we on our list?
The work list,
Yes.
so let me pull that open right now. Currently, there are 15 items on the work list. Last month, 2 that were added were the home occupation regulations and also a review of whether or not to allow duplexes in Ag 2 or other districts. A couple of the items that are already on their master plan review, that one will be coming off here shortly. Sliding scale provisions. So that's been a conversation, I think, for a number of years on whether or not to change any of the sliding scale provisions for A1. Rezoning provisions, that is something I brought to you previously. I think with some of the conversations I've had with the township's legal counsel, that may not be necessary any longer. But when the planning commission decides to come back to that, I'll make sure I have a better than it might not be. You had previously talked about requiring public notices for use by rights in the commercial and industrial district. Reviewing the solar provisions, so we had the bonding requirement for some of those solar items, so there was conversation of not requiring that for the smaller solar systems. We have battery energy storage systems, so currently the township doesn't regulate solar, regulate wind, but there's no regulations in place for battery energy storage systems. Sparta Hunting and Fishing Club, so we don't necessarily identify, they've been there for years or at least legally non-conforming use, but we don't identify where hunting and fishing clubs would be a use. Another bonding requirement for open air businesses, they're currently required to have bonds in place for different things. Site plan review, remove or amend some of the health department approval requirements. I know we ran into that with a couple of projects with the zoning ordinance is written. Sheckler Fruit Market, for example, they don't have any public facilities, but it still required them to get a letter from the health department, so looking at some of those requirements to change it. Some of these things with the planning commission's ready, we could do a lot all at once. I think a lot of them will be fairly simple. Looking at adopting a stormwater ordinance, potentially looking at maximum setbacks within the A1 district. So right now, there's no maximum setback, so somebody could buy 40 acres in the A1 district and put the house right in the middle of the 40 acres. So I know we do have some communities that require, if you're gonna build a house in A1, you're gonna be only so far away from your side and front lot lines to help preserve some of that agricultural land. Another one is a private road committee, essentially amending the zoning ordinance not to require that. I think it's been Barb, Don, and I's experienced that with myself, with Fresh Coast Planning, with the engineer. More often than not, we're capturing 90% of the items, and it just becomes an extra piece of red tape that people have to go through to build a private road. And we also talked about doing a zoning ordinance review and restatement. So it's been a number of years. You know, there's some unique items within the zoning ordinance that don't always provide clarity either for myself as zoning administrator or for people that are looking to do projects. So that would be a rather large project. You know, the goal wouldn't be to amend everything, but just to restructure it so that's more easy to understand. And that could be, as part of that process, that could be something we do too, is as we go through that review and restatement, there could be some of these smaller items in the work list that we address as we go through that restatement if the planning commission decides to proceed. So I know you don't have to see it, and there's like a lot of things I just told you. I will send this, I'll email this work list back out to the planning commission so you guys can see it again.
We had a email conversation regarding the home business. I personally think that needs to be moved up. How does anybody else feel? I mean, I know that it's a
Right.
concern,
More of an, yeah.
and right now I know that there's some people who have some
Right.
issues, and I think we need to get it discussed sooner than later.
Yep.
Because we need to help these people out with a decision.
Is that the gentleman that came that was running it? Oh, okay.
He has no employees, he has a pole barn.
Yeah.
When he built the pole barn, he came in and told us what he was doing with the pole barn. So, I guess shame on us. Or, I wasn't on the board at that time, most of you weren't, so.
So I guess that's where I'd be looking for some direction right now. The two items I have, we have the updates to the master plan. I'm not sure, I gotta do a couple coordinations, I wanna make sure that we do that thoughtfully. That may be ready for next month, it may not be ready till April. And then the data center regulations, so those would be the two current. So if you guys wanted to add a review of home occupation regulations, we can do that.
I think so.
Sure.
I think that's something we could deal with. Hey, anything else? Entertain a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you for coming.